Hello and welcome to today's tutorial. Today we're looking at Ultrabeat, which is Logic's standard drum machine or drum synth drum sampler. Anything to do with drums. So as you see, I'll just double click on Ultrabeat, and I had something I was working on earlier here. So we'll go and actually create a new one from scratch. So if I just click on a new instrument, create, and then of course go down to Ultrabeat, which is in the in-out section down here in your inspector. Go down to drum synth, there it is, has it in brackets. Just go for stereo for now. Actually, do you know what? Let's change it to multi-output, just in case we do anything interesting. So, this is the default setting. And you can see I got a keyboard here with kick, rim shot, snare, claps all laid out on the side. Obviously, it means that each time I press a key on the keyboard like C, you'll get a kick. And the same with the snare, claps, and it's all there. So you might think to yourself, let's make a beat then. So I'll just record what I'm playing into the keyboard and see what happens. Oh, yeah, that's one way of doing it. There are others, and this sequencer section is where you probably want to go for that. So if you just hit the on switch here, which is the 1-0 switch, then hit play, we have already something programmed for us by the kind people at Apple. So if I want to see what's actually being played, I can go up between each instrument and see the rhythms that are here. And also, you see that this, when they turn blue, is when they're actually on. So you would have heard that 10 is now added in there. So for instance, the snare has got nothing. Start putting the snare in a bit more. There we go, that one actually makes a sound. This is just how a normal drum machine will work, such as the TR-808 909 from Roland. We've got lots of hi-hats there, so that's just one way of looking at it. There's also another way, which is to go to full view and see a grid that is laid out. And you can actually start just doing things on the grid, such as making conga lines. Sounds pretty good. And of course they come up here as well. We have velocity and gate. Velocity is, say, the y-axis of it going up and down. And then the gate is the x-axis, which goes along. Because this sample or synth is simply just a very short one, it's not very obvious what the gate is doing because... So the velocity makes much more sense. So we can go up and do some maracas. And of course the kick, second kick, in case we want a different kick to our first one. To go in between the beats, so I'm just looking down here where our kick is, which is 4 on the floor. I'll put it in between. Yeah, get some nice different sub in there. You can click and drag across. Sounds interesting, but let's keep it like this. See what this sounds like. Yeah, it sounds horrendous. Let's keep number 9. No, let's just get rid of it all. So the next thing I want to go to is looking at this step sequencer. So the step sequencer is quite self-explanatory. Every step it takes, it's either going to be on or off. So this on is where 1, 5, 9, 13, and everything else is off. So we can just click 7. 7 pops up here as well. The other thing that is different though is that you have this parameter offset underneath. Rather than gate and velocity, we now have a whole bunch of different things that we can use. So it's best to go off to click off full view and notice that this entire section has all gone yellow, and all these yellow things are stuff that you can then automate in this parameter section. So for instance, what can we do? Well, the kick is just say one oscillator, because you can see this little on-off switch on all the oscillators. Oh yeah, that's one thing I haven't mentioned yet. Let's just stop for a second. All these sections, we have one oscillator here, you see OSC1, and then over here we have the noise oscillator, and then over here we have oscillator 2. Now the noise oscillator just introduces noise into it. So if we just do the kick and solo it with this little solo button down here, you see M and S, M is mute, S is solo. This is a little pan knob, so go all the way to the right, go all the way to the left. And then next to it we have the main thing, and I'll go into that a bit later. But right now we can just check out this and see what's going on. So I'm just going to manipulate these samples, or these oscillators, see if we can actually get something to come out of this one. Let's just stick with the top one for now, just switch that off. So if up here I've got the pitch, this is the starting, and then this is the finishing. So a bit lower, that's good, sounds alright. Also saturate it by making it more, by bit crushing it. Also make it more asymmetrical by making it more of a saw wave than a sine wave. This will probably make it more of a square wave as well. Change it to FM, where we have two oscillators, but I'm not quite sure how that works. It comes down to this filter section where we have, of course, EQ bands over here, and we have cutoff. This is really for the noise, so this of course goes through here, and then we can manage to EQ it. So this one, this is the low bassy boominess. Take it out, can't hear any bassiness, just clickiness. Put it back up, we have bass boominess. So let's go back to our step sequencer, where all these parameters are different. Say I wanted less of a boominess on 11. So what I do is I take down this EQ here, and you can see that just for that one note, it's taking the EQ out. Of course, go to number 15, 15 has it back up again. Put even more boominess on it. So then we can really start making this rhythm really interesting. And by taking the envelope back, we can make it really short. And of course, then we can pitch it up as well. So let's see what happens when we put that in the rest of the mix. That's not bad, it sounds quite interesting. Some of these might sound quite standard. So let's change them up a little bit. Pull the pitch down on that one. Let's try the claps. So I'm going to go over to here. We see it's just a noise. So So if it's just noise, none of these pitches will work because they don't affect this one. They only affect their own oscillators. So we'll go down to here. Change the EQ a bit. Sounds interesting. We can't really hear it anymore. I like that. I like the fact it doesn't have much at the end. So it's still quite strong. I'm going to take it down a bit. That's quite cool. I like that. So we can just keep messing around with this. Can add a bit of swing to the whole arrangement. Sounds good. Okay, let's stop for a second. Let's go and see if we can add anything really interesting into this. So for instance, over here, what I'd done earlier, and it all went a bit wrong in the end, so I couldn't really carry on. But let's open this one and see what happened. So with the claps, I pretty much had the same rhythm. Let's see if I really went a bit different. Probably a little bit different. So the main part I got to though was, so this is me just having designed a rhythm in here. Could have just click around a bit more. Now let's go back to this. Now I want to go back to the clap, so I'll select the clap. Of course you can put the clap volume up, take it down, get it perfect. Now when I switch this oscillator on, which is the sample oscillator, it sounds interesting. Basically what's going on is I dragged in a sample on top of the claps. So what I'll do is I'll do it for this one over here. I'll show you how I did it. So I'll go to my clap, and you'll notice that the oscillator is off. I'll select sample so that it's blank. Typically there is just a blank sample. When you load it up, there's nothing. Go to my Finder. Now over here I have this sample pack that I downloaded from Music Radar, and it was female vocal samples. Anyone can get this, and it's completely free. So I just went to house disco just to keep in sort of going with the style. And there's a whole bunch of things that don't sound too great, but they can sound pretty cool if you use them correctly. Let's go You're a Star soft and just see what that sounds like. That'll do. Drag it in, and then we have You're a Star in there, ready to go. So every time a clap is going to sound, once I've switched it on, it will sound. So if I just press this, it's interesting. Pitching it up and down. That sounds really interesting. That sounds really unusual now. This is just both all, so it's going to go wrong. Oh, you could argue that sounds interesting, but you can reverse it as well. And of course we can pitch up and down for each individual one. And it can be good if you use it properly. And of course, without going into too much detail, we can of course use tons of different samples. Like for the instance, I'm using 99 drum samples here. Just press play to each one. We've got percussion tribal. So these will go into anything that doesn't have the bottom oscillator on, like the cabasa. So if I switch that on, turn it to sample, put in percussion tribal in there, every time the cabasa sounds, now that will also sound. Let's switch that one off. So I'll go into my full view. Cabasa is not playing, so let's get that in there. So let's have a look and see what's actually going on in the cabasa. So there is a ever so slight difference. It would make much more sense if we use the, well, for this demonstration, the Music Radar rock ones. It would absolutely much more sense. Well, maybe the envelope is so short on this, we're not actually going to be able to hear it properly. The envelope section's down here. So that hasn't really worked. So we'll go back to something else like the claps again, because they're definitely going to work. Oh, that's not bad. That's a much better example. So that's reversed. It's up to you if you want to use it like that. And of course you can then change, it's like simple bass up here, and have, say, something else in there. So let's go, gotta slow down. So you could go on and on and on like this, creating rhythms. So let's have a look at actually dragging and dropping this into our arrangements, since we haven't done any of that yet. Let's go in, and it's this little part where it says pattern. You want to drag that into the arrange window to get your rhythm. So now if I go into arrange window, hit play, we have it there. I'm going to turn it down a bit so it doesn't distort too much. Oh, that's the reason I've got it on play as well. So I'm going to drag it back up. And press. Still doing the same thing. Okay, so we've got one thing down. What if we then want to layer it on a bit and start layering it up? So go back to your full view. Now what we can do is start adding in a few more things just randomly. Not going to think about this too much just for this demonstration. Okay, this isn't that. Okay, fine. Get the pattern and then drag and drop it in there. So then you have an even. So then you're starting to elaborate on the previous patterns you have. So I'll just switch that off. There we have 2 different patterns sequentially. So that's great. So then you can start layering your rhythms together. And then of course, if you go back into your sequencer, you can then change the rhythms entirely. So if you go down to which sequence you want, you can go to C#1, D1, anything that has SQ for sequence next to it, you've got a sequence already inbuilt for you. So let's try this one. Interesting. Just a word of warning that these are used in such a common way by everyone that you try and change them as much as possible. That's my ultimate advice. So if you go down here, you can then make your own sequences and it will save them for you, and then of course drag and drop them in. So just anything really. Maybe not the clap anymore. Never again. There we go. So, and then we go back to here. You see it has a little SQ next to it. So it has a sequenced drum loop already. So there we go. I suppose the next thing, what we could do is change some of the outputs of let's go to our hand clap. I know that this sample is going to stick, unfortunately, but we can then change here. Remember I mentioned that on we'll go to this out section later where it says main. I'm going to change it to 3 and 4, and then this means that simply put my claps will come out of a different channel in it, so I can then do effects output, so put on plugins, etc. outside of them. So then go to the mixer. I'm going to want to just go to options, create new auxiliary channel strip, select stereo, and create. And then where it says input and output, I want to go to my instrument 1 or 2. In this case, it's number 2 because it correlates exactly with instrument 2 here. So input, instrument 2, Ultrabeat 3 and 4, which is why I've set it up here, which says Ultrabeat 3 and 4. So if I press solo that as well, bring it in, put the fader up. So now the clap is going to come through here instead. And you can do this to any amount of instruments you like. So then you've got the ability to put delays, delay designer on there, and just if you really want loads of claps, then you can just put this on. Could even put, say, Bit Crusher on there, just see what that sounds like. Do what you want. 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 That's not sounding very good. Let's just auto filter that out. Yeah, that's interesting. Let's go for try and pitch shifter, even though we can do this anyway. Yeah, let's not do that. Let's put a reverb on it. Oh yeah, that's better. That's more like it. So what about if we just put the congas in there as well? Go to 3 and 4. Yeah. Interesting. So there we go. That is Ultrabeat, and we have, of course, our oscillators on this side, the left side, where we can put samples in it and things like that. One thing I forgot to mention is that, say you wanted to change the sound of the kick drum, you can also press this import button and go to the drum bank, say kick bank, open, and then you have all these kicks as well that you can actually audition. You can actually make your own as well, but it entails putting making your own sort of drum bank first, and then you can use this. So let's say we wanted that one. We then drag and drop it into kick 2, and there we have it. We got a new kick there suddenly, and let's see what that sounds like. If you wanted to say replace this clap with a kick drum, probably not the best thing. So let's go back to our snare bank. Let's try that one. Let's try the percussion bank. That one sounds quite nice. So it sounds pretty glitchy now, which is good. So there we go. That is Ultrabeat. So remember, import as well. And if you want to, you can always just go to drum kits, drag and drop samples, where it's completely blank. Make your own. So get all the samples you want from these guys, or of course, get your own. Anyway, just grab your own. And you can make, say, a snare bank, a hi-hat bank, anything, and start dragging and dropping your own samples. Once you've got it all, save setting as, and then save it in, say, your own one. You could create your own bank, my own bank, and then whatever samples. I haven't done anything yet. Needs doing. And then you've got your own. So then you can go import from it's got missing. Anyway, you can always find it elsewhere, and then you've got your own sample pack there wherever you saved it. I'm not sure where I've saved mine. So there we go. Thank you very much for joining me for this Ultrabeat tutorial. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.